So the way to approach this problem is to recognize that we have a complex number here. And worse than that, it's a complex fraction. And we have to rewrite it in this form, which is called standard form for complex numbers. It's a plus bi. What we have here, if we want to break this down a little bit, this is the real part, and this, b, is the imaginary part. So we need to know, for this problem, what's the imaginary part, right? That's what it's asking for. What is b? So the way we're going to do this is to rationalize this expression. Watch what I'm about to write. I'm just going to write 3 minus 7i, 2 plus 7i. Okay, that's the original that we started with. And we're going to multiply this by something, some kind of a crazy one. We've talked about this a bunch in class, which will get rid of the I terms on the bottom. And if you remember conjugates, that's the way this one has to work. So I'm going to multiply by a conjugate of the denominator. It's always the denominator that we pick for our conjugates. And you see, the only thing I've changed is I changed that 2 plus 7i to 2 minus 7i. I just changed the plus or minus sign. And now we get busy with some foiling here. This is going to take a moment. And we work our way through this. Now, I'm going to assume you've already had some practice foiling and just run through these numbers. But if you're lost on this part, I'd encourage you to take a moment and do the foiling yourself. You know, first times first, outer times outer, and so on, distributing that multiplication until you see how this works. So this on the top becomes 6 minus 21i minus 14i, and then plus 49i squared. Okay, that's our top value. And on the bottom, this becomes 4 minus 14i plus 14i minus 49i squared. Okay, and we can simplify this a little more. I'm going to combine some like terms. And on the top, I have, let's see, minus 21 minus 14. So that's going to be minus 35i plus 49i squared. And on the bottom, these two cross out. That's nice. It's very convenient. We get 4 minus 49i squared. Now, I haven't used anything about I so far. And remember what I is. I is the square root of negative 1. So what's I squared? That means I squared equals negative 1. And we can use that right here. Watch what happens. We get 6 minus 35i, and this becomes minus 49 over 4 plus 49. Okay, just a little more and we'll be done. Take a look what happens now. 6 minus 49. I think that's negative 43. And then we have minus 35i. And then on the bottom we have over 53. So this is our answer as a fraction. It's not an a plus bi form yet. All I need to do to get it to look like that is split this fraction up and say, here's the real part, right? This is only real numbers. And here's the imaginary part. This is only imaginary numbers. I'll just stick that I right there. So the question is asking, remember what's b? What's the imaginary part? And that's going to be this guy. Notice what I'm circling right here does not include the I. It's negative 35. Should include that negative sign right there. It's negative 35 over 53. Okay, so we can see that guy right here. When you're looking for the imaginary part, be sure you don't include that I, and be sure you've separated this question out into its a plus bi form.